What is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? It's your boy Goblin, and today we're coming in with a banger of a video. I hope you guys enjoy this one. Drop a like if you do. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And also, don't forget to follow my new Instagram, linked in the description below. Listen, I got banned on my last account. They're being petty about it. Make sure to follow my new one. Without further ado, let's dive right into the video. Now listen. In today's video, I wanted to tell a story that would bring back the legend of a certain person who hasn't been in one of my videos in a very long time. This is a story that I haven't really talked about because, you know, at one point in my life, it was kind of just like most other days of my life. But looking back, this was actually an absolute hoot and a holler, a true blast of a day. Today, we're going to talk about the legend that is Old Folk. Some of you guys who have been watching my videos for a long time, you might be familiar with who Old Folk is. If you're not, don't worry, I'm going to tell you all about him. So on this particular day, this was, oh man, quite a while ago, summer of 2016, guys. This was before I had even gone to rehab, very long time ago. You know, I was much younger. I wasn't even 18 yet at this point, and I had gone over to my buddy Michael's house. Common character in my videos. I used to kick it with this dude all the time. And Michael happened to live in a neighborhood that was fairly close to Old Folks' normal hangout spots. But we'll get to that. I went over to Michael's house on this fine day, you know, a hot summer day, and we're chilling out in his garage. We had some weed, we had some liquor. It was a good day. We were smoking blunts, we were, you know, having a couple drinks, and we eventually ran out of beers. And, you know, our strategy normally was we would just go steal some, but every now and then, a certain individual would show up. This man was Old Folk. That was what we called him because none of us knew his real name. He was way older than any of us. I was just introduced to him as Old Folk, and he responds to that. Like, he doesn't, you know, if you don't call him Old Folk, you're not getting his attention. He goes by Old Folk. So this guy, at first, I thought he was homeless, but now I don't really know. You know, I have no idea whether he's homeless or not. Looking back at it, he very well could have been. But either way, he used to ride around Michael's neighborhood on a bike, and you'd only ever find him in the summer. Every other time of the year, it's like he migrated or something. Like, this dude was gone. You would usually only find him in the summer, and he would be riding around on a bike, and he would pull up to Michael's house, and he would ask for some weed. Now, I have no idea how Michael and him first got in touch or like how they encountered each other, how he started serving this man. All I know is this dude was a treasure. He would pull up on his bike and he would ask for weed and he would never have money. So we would have to front him, and that's exactly what happened on this particular day. We're chilling in the garage, smoking some blunts, and at this point, it is just me and Michael. An Old Folk comes down the street on the bike. We see him from the garage, and he comes riding up the driveway, coming up to Michael's house. Now, I had already met Old Folk at this point. I'd met him plenty of times. This was nothing new for us. But we were running out of liquor pretty quickly here, so Old Folk coming was a blessing. He needed some weed, and I happened to have some, so I told Old Folk, I said, listen, I'll front you this little bit of weed. He only ever wanted like a gram. This guy wouldn't ask for an eighth. He wouldn't ask for any decent quantity. This guy would pull up and ask for a gram. So all of us, we had no problem fronting him because the best part of it was he would always find a way to get the money to you. I don't know how. I don't know what he would do, but this dude would get the money. And he was an absolute trip. He pulls up and he asks for a G. So I tell him, I'm like, yo, I'll tell you what. I'll give you this gram and I'll give you a little bit of cash if you could go and grab us some liquor. We really trusted this guy like that. We knew we could hand him, you know, 20, 40 bucks and he'd go get us whatever liquor we wanted, you know? So I handed him a 20 and I gave him a gram of bud and I'm like, listen, my dude, go grab us some beers. Pick whatever you want. You know, we don't care. Listen, we were high schoolers at this point. I gave him $20. That is enough to get the finest beer. So hopefully, you know, he doesn't pick some bullshit like Busch Light, but old folk wasn't like that. Typically, if we told him to go get liquor, he was going to bring back one of three things. Either A, for some reason, he would bring back Miller Lite a lot, or sometimes Coronas. Coronas are what I was hoping for, but I didn't necessarily tell him what I wanted, because it's kind of like gambling, and I really like that. It's very fun. What kind of liquor am I going to get, dude? It's like a little mini game, a little slot machine, So I pass him this money, and I tell him, yo, go grab this liquor, and he's like, all right. But can I smoke with you guys first? I don't have any wraps. So, of course, we are honored to smoke with old folk. We invite him into the garage. Now, we're sitting in the garage, and to describe old folk, he's an older guy. I would estimate about maybe 50. I don't know, dude. I mean, it could have been the drugs. This guy has definitely done a lot of fucking drugs in his life. I don't know exactly what, but he's told some stories that are absurd. And there's one story that he will repeat pretty much every single time that you're with him, and it's the Muhammad Ali story. Now, I talked about this in a previous video of mine way back in the day, but this guy claims that he sparred with Muhammad Ali. Some of my friends have said that they think that's why he's so fucked up, because Muhammad Ali knocked his ass out and gave him some brain damage. I personally think it might just be because he was wild when he was younger, but this dude always talks about sparring Muhammad Ali before he was famous, and honestly, he's so adamant about it that I fucking believe him. I wholeheartedly believe him. I tell a lot of people about this guy, and they're like, there's no way he fought Muhammad Ali, and I sit there and I'm like, honestly, I fucking believe this dude. I think he really did. Like, I don't know. I don't know why I believe him. The guy's insane, but I believe him. Now, he's sitting there and he tells us once again, as we're rolling up this blunt for him, Michael's rolling up and I'm just chatting with old folk. Old folk tells us once again that he's got the government check coming. And he's like, boys, you got to come over to my house on this government check. I'm going to buy a new house. I'm going to buy a mansion. And we'd ask him how much the government check was for, and it would never be the same amount. Same thing happened on this day. I asked him, I was like, yo, what's the government check? Different amount of money. I don't remember exactly what amount he said, probably like fucking $70,000. But it fluctuated from like $30,000 to like $100,000 to, $50,000. It was never the same amount. He was just very insistent that the government owed him money. So I was like, yo, for sure, when that government check comes, hit us up. So eventually, Michael's got this blunt rolled up, and we spark it up. He rolled up a very fat blunt. We had matched on it, and he rolled up an absolute doink. So we spark it up, and old folk is loving this shit. He's like, oh, thank you. I can pay you guys back for this. And we, of course, we didn't want any extra money for it. It's old folk, dude. Honestly, if he didn't come back with the money, I don't think we would have really given a shit, me or Michael. Neither would any of my other friends. Eventually, as in the middle of us smoking this blunt, some more homies come over. Bill pulls up, right? Paul pulls up. We got two more homies pull up. They walk in, see old folk there. Now it's a celebration. We put in another order with old folk. We're like, listen, old folk, we need 2 cases of beer now, not 1. Mind you, this guy's on a bike. He will ride back with 2 cases of beer for you. No problem. He'll carry them like a strong man. He doesn't care, dude. This guy is built like steel. So we're like, listen, old folk, we need 2 fucking cases of beer. He's like, yeah, I'm down. I got you guys, no problem. So we finish smoking this first blunt, and he hops back on his bike and dips out after once again sharing the Muhammad Ali story to me and Michael. So now it's us, the 4 of us, and we're chilling out, having a good time. We're waiting for old folk to get back. Old folk is taking his sweet-ass time, but mind you, he did not have a cell phone. There's no way we could call him. We didn't know where he lived. He claimed he had a wife and kids, but we had never seen them before. I had heard once that Michael had seen them at the grocery store together, but who knows if that was actually his wife and kids or if that was even him? Because Michael's like, yeah, I'm not even sure. I mean, he was kind of far away. So I was like, okay. Another time I had been told that he swore he talked to him, but then the story would change. Who fucking knows if old folk actually had this wife and kids? Because what wife is like, okay, husband, go out on your bicycle and buy dime bags from the local teenagers. Have fun, Like, there's no fucking way, bro. There's no chance in hell. He's got kids? Shut up. There's no chance. This guy's like fucking 60. His kids, I mean, I guess maybe they're like, yeah, maybe they're grown kids. I don't know. Either way, the analysis of Old Folk is not for this video. The point is, this guy is off on a mission to get us our liquor and our money back. Now, we only charged him $10 for the gram, which granted, for us back then, that was good. You have to realize we were in high school, and this was our, like, good weed that we had. So we paid damn near more than that. We weren't even really profiting off this guy. We just wanted him to grab us some liquor and wanted to help him out because he is a trip. So he dips out for a while. I mean, we're sitting at Michael's house. We go back upstairs, right? We're chilling in the living room, playing some zombies, smoking some more weed. We go back down to the garage maybe an hour and a half later after everyone gets mopped on zombies because none of us were really that good. I mean, if I'm being honest, I was probably the best player there. And that, zombies was never my forte. So that's not really saying much. But either way, we go back down to the garage and we're waiting for the return of Old Folk once again. Now, honestly, I never ever expected him to run off on us, but there was times where it had been so long that it had crossed my mind. And this is one of those times I'm like, okay, we have to go to the store. The grocery store is like 5 minutes from Michael's house. Like, we could walk to it. It's not far. And I'm not talking like a tiny little store that would be out of something. Like, no, dude, huge grocery store, like a Jewel Osco. Like, there's definitely a fucking liquor section there. There's for sure some beer in there, So we're kind of starting to get concerned. We're like, well, maybe he's on a quest to get the money, And Old Folk would always come back with the money for you, but he would never tell you how he got it. You could ask him. He would never indulge that information. God only knows how he got this fucking money pretty much every time. But maybe after, I'd say, an hour of sitting in the garage, he finally pulls back up. Now, this was a hot summer day, but Old Folk was drenched. I mean, this boy was sweating. He had pulled up that day wearing a gray shirt. This thing was damn near black. He had sweat through it so hard. I mean, dark shirt. This dude was coated. I don't know what he went to do. I don't know where he went, but he came back. 2 cases of beer, and he had our money, $10. I don't know what he did for this. I don't know where he went for this. He also had the change for the beer, right? He gave us change too. This guy had everything with him. He got back 3 hours later, and at that point, we're like, Old Folk, come kick it with us. This guy would always tell the wildest stories ever. So, of course, he comes in and cracks a few beers with us, and we start smoking and chatting it up. Now, we would never make Old Folk match with us. He would also never offer to, but it's not like we cared, We just wanted his company. This dude was a trip. He was so fun. And on this particular day, I remember he told one of my favorite stories ever about his first time doing cocaine. And he was like, yeah, the way he started it off, oh my God. He starts off, we're talking about coke, all of us in the group. And he's like, yeah, I remember when I first did coke, I was like 13. My mama beat my ass. And we're like, what are you fucking talking? Like, you were 13? He was like, yeah, I found it, man, at my house. And I'm like, yo, Old Folk must have had a fucked up old dude. 13, this guy's doing blow. This guy is with it, dude. He's been with it for a while, but he's telling us the story of his first time. And we're not going to go through all the motions of his first time, because honestly, I don't even remember the whole thing. I just remember the way he started it off and telling us, the basics of it, how he did it at his house. He found it. It must have been his brother's, and he did it, and then his mom found out somehow, because I guess his brother was pissed. God even knows if this was true, dude. I mean, this guy would come in with just the most wild, out-of-pocket shit, like, every time. Who knows if this is even the accurate rendition of it? Because also, this guy, like I mentioned earlier, has done so many drugs. I mean, I wouldn't have been surprised if he was on something when he'd pull up to us and we didn't know it, because he never seemed quite sober, I mean, he always seemed a little out of it, a little fucked up. Or maybe he needed some medication I don't know. But either way, my God, he was an absolute blast. So he's telling us the story of his first time doing coke. And we're having these drinks. We're smoking up. And after he tells us that story, we decide to start slamming these beers. We had 2 cases of them. There's 5 of us together now. So, what better time than to start slamming these beers? He didn't bring back the little racks. Dude, he brought back 2 fucking 30 racks, boys. This guy came in with the load. I wish beer was still that affordable, dude. I mean, between all of us, I gave him 20, and then once Bill had gotten there and everything, they also gave him a little bit of cash. I think we gave him maybe $30, and he came back with 2 fucking 30 racks, boys. Now, granted, these were Miller Lights, so don't think this was some incredible experience, but at the same time, this dude rode a bicycle while carrying 2 fucking 30 racks. How do you even do that? Like, this dude was almost magic. You could tell that he is a master of riding this bike. He rode this shit back. Granted, I mean, it's also not super far, but where the fuck did this guy go for the past, 3 hours, There's more questions that I had that never got answered, because what mattered to us in that moment was the fact that he had brought the beer. But looking back at it, what would this guy actually go do for his money? Like, every time. I really wonder. But either way, he came back and he brought us everything. So we're smoking, we're having some drinks. I got fucked up. I remember I was sitting in that garage and old folk left, fairly quickly. He only stayed with us for 30, 45 minutes, and he told us he had to leave. God only knows where he went. Who knows? But he left. Sometimes he would pull up to us late at night, too. I'm talking 11 p.m. type shit, But either way, he said he had to go, so we said our goodbyes and old folk left. Now it's just the 4 of us. We got Paul, we got Bill, we got Michael, we got me, and we're chilling in this garage. I am getting wasted very quickly. I'd say by the time old folk left, I was already probably 4 or 5 beers deep. And by the time I stopped drinking, I drank probably 8, So I was pretty fucked up, boys. And back then, I could handle some beers, I mean, if I really tried it, I could probably crunch a 30 case with 1 other person, maybe 2. But that's back then. Nowadays, I could never do that shit, dude. I don't know how I drank like I did in high school, but I was a little animal with it. So either way, we're crunching these beers and I'm fucked up, dude, because I wasn't really trying to drink that many. I had told myself, oh, this will be the last one, but I did that for the last 2. And I eventually got so drunk that I just crashed out at Michael's house. I mean, I absolutely KO'd, ladies and gentlemen. I don't remember shit until the next day. All I can tell you is after old folk left, I got very drunk, and then I woke up the following day with one of the most brutal beer hangovers ever. You see, for me, I don't usually get super bad hangovers, with some exceptions. Nowadays, it's vodka that gives me hangovers. Or when I was younger, it was beers. Beer would fuck me up because the amount of beer I would drink, I would just get stomach problems, dude. I would throw up the next morning almost every time because I just drank a fucking gallon of that shit, I mean, it's ridiculous. So beer fucked me up, and I woke up the next day feeling brutal. I realized soon after that everyone else had also stayed the night at Michael's house, so we had all woken up, and I don't know where this dude's mom was. I don't know. This guy's mom was never home, and he had a sister too. She was never home. I don't know where this whole family was, but thank God for that, because this dude's place was one of my favorite hangout spots in high school, and was also the only reason that we stayed connected to old folk, because I never would ever see him in all this, any of the surrounding neighborhoods. Right? There was a lot of different neighborhoods in the area that I'd, been to houses at and hung out at, and I'd never seen him there. The only places I'd ever seen him were Michael's house and at a pizza place that was right down the street, my favorite pizza place ever. Well, one of them, but either way, that's the legend of old folk that I wanted to share with you guys today. Bring it back a little bit. The OGs, you might remember this guy, but a lot of you new viewers, you probably don't even know who old folk is, so there you go. We got some more stories involving this guy for sure. A lot of older videos involve him too, so go watch some of those. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Drop a like if you did. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out, gamers.